you yell Barracuda. Everybody says, huh? What? You yell shark. We've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Shut up. I'm rich. I'm richer than all this, you Hollywood trash.
A, you can never go too far. B, if I'm gonna get busted, it is not gonna be by a guy like that.
I'll be back.
Here's Johnny.
Good friend of the program, Representative Tim O'Driscoll on the program with us today. Representative, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Friday, and we're a little under, I guess, 2 weeks away from the end of session. And if my Democrat counterparts wouldn't have been out for 3 weeks, we probably would be done already.
I like the attitude. I get it, tying those two things together. But aren't there more, I want to say moral, more intrinsic issues on each side that to say that I don't care if you would have had an extra month, you would have got to the end here, and some people were going to stick up for what they wanted to take it to the mat. Do you really believe that? That it was a matter of timing was all, which we didn't have, if we had 3 more weeks, we wouldn't be in the same spot?
Well, certainly wouldn't be in the same spot. We'd be further down the road, regardless.
Okay.
If, your 1 month scenario, after session. So we're just going to be even further down the road from that spot. So what I think is kind of interesting is Republicans, we control, and I'm going to go slow on this so people catch the math on this. We control 1/2 of 1/3 of government, right? The governor's office is Democrat, the Senate is Democrat, that's 2/3. We split the House, so that's 1/2 of a third, right?
Yep.
I'm pretty proud of my Republican counterparts and the chairs and the people who've been negotiating. We have put up a very, very good fight. It's almost to the point where some of the people who watch the proceedings at the Capitol are going, you're almost acting like, you got a majority and some of the things that you're able to get and push forward. But again, we are 1/2 of 1/3.
Yeah.
So we are not going to get everything that we want. And it's easy to say, well, just don't vote for it and they'll have to come to you. You can't do that in everything. You got to pick your battles.
But and let me ask you this, and that's a great point, Representative. Everybody stakes out their side. When Speaker Namath got in, no new taxes, right? We're going to say no new taxes. We knew that was going to be the pledge. We're going to get back this health care for illegal immigrants in Minnesota. And what was the third one? Oh, the hourly workers in school districts getting unemployment insurance. Kind of like the 3 legs of the Republican stool. Yep. I get you got to compromise. No new taxes? Well, so far, except for the marijuana thing. Now, marijuana means nothing to me. Maybe that's a tax we can live with. You got to compromise. But we've fallen on that, if you will. It didn't stand up. On the unemployment insurance for the teacher, for schools. Yep, we're going to win that. We sunsetted it, but we're going to give them 2 more years of it to fade it out. I don't know if that's coming back in your word or not. Where will it finally end with, I think the biggest sticking point is this Medicare for all, if you will, in Minnesota. Will Republicans stay firm on that?
We have tried to stay firm on everything.
Wait,
but again,
did I mischaracterize it? Am I about right? I mean, did I put it out wrong?
No, not necessarily. Okay. The challenge that I'm going to put out to you is, everybody goes, well, you control something, so you should just stop all of these things the way I want them to be stopped. Well, no. I walk into a room. I've got my legislative person who comes with me, and there are 18 other people who are in the room who do not like me, who do not subscribe to the same philosophy I do. Yep. I will tell you that in the pensions world and in the commerce world, which I have control over, we did marvelous work. We absolutely did marvelous work. Okay. But again, when you're getting to these other areas and you constantly go into a barrage of people who don't like you and are beating you up all the time, it's really easy for people to sit in the first row of the show and go, well, just say no.
Yeah, no,
okay. Now, what's their strategy after that?
Well, nothing would get done. I completely agree with you. There is compromise. So that's kind of my point, is this drawing lines in the sand saying none of this. That doesn't fly very well. But who wins in the court of public opinion? Because that's kind of what this comes down to, right? We saw when all the big muckety-mucks got together, governors on TV, chatting about, hey, we got compromise. We've got it all nailed down. No one got everything, and everybody got something. And it was all of a sudden you hear this banging on the door, and it's the Democrats screaming and yelling. I mean, that was a little shocker. But my point being is, So who wins this? Because now on the Democratic side, as far as I can tell, all that I have on this program, it is this Medicare for All situation that they've had all of since January.
Yep.
This is something that they gave to people who are here illegally. They gave them health care. Like it or not, they had the power to do it. It started in January of this year, as I understand it. They've had it all of 6 months, and it seems like they're going to go to the mat on this to keep it. Right or wrong, I'm not making that call. Do you think they'll do it? And if they do, who wins the PR ploy? Because everybody's going to run for office in 18 months. You know, that's what it comes down to.
So if you have some secret revelation to help our negotiators, we'd love to talk with you, maybe offline.
Yeah.
But our people are going 20, in some cases, 22 hours a day after day at this stuff. Again, there are people who do not like us, and we are fighting the good fight out there. And that is what people need to remember, is that when they say, well, Republicans just didn't do their job this year, they just really didn't get things done. We are 1/2 of 1/3.
I'm with you, sir. I'm with you. I'm just I'm trying to
look. We're a small bump in the highway.
I'm looking. Yeah, but that's a big bump. You got a governor. We're going to talk about him in a minute out there running for, looks like, for the presidency. We'll talk about that in a second. But he was the one announcing that we had a deal. He was standing there when the doors start banging and people start screaming they were from his own side. Isn't he obligated? Because he and you're 1/3 of one, you're 1/6 of the government. The other 5/6, don't they have to deliver on what they just literally stood and told the Minnesota people? We've got it done.
And that's what we're holding them accountable for, is their word, right?
Yep.
I want to go back to the undocumented folks who are getting insurance.
Yep.
They figured that there'd be about 5,000 to maybe 7,000 people who would subscribe to this program. We were over 20,000 people 3.5 months into this.
See.
These are people who are not Minnesotans who are getting insurance. In the Commerce Bill, I insulated the private market from interacting with the public market. Okay. So whatever happens over there with Trump and the cuts from Medicare and Medicaid, I have insulated the private sector from that. Okay. I've saved 186,000 people their health insurance policies as an individual who aren't, getting it through their employer.
No, I love that.
Big.
Yeah, no, it is. This is the interesting thing about all of that, is that we do things at the legislature in that we set up this program. We think there'll be 5,000, maybe 7,000. And then you could do the math and say, we're going to cap that program at, and I'm throwing out a number, $200 million, whatever that would be, and say that's all we're going to put into this thing. But it's open-ended. We're going to open this up, think it's going to be $200 million, and when 3-4 times as many people sign up, we just write a check? Where does the money come from?
Well, and that's the problem. Democrats are on a drunken spending spree with $18 billion the last biennium, and now those chickens are coming home, and it's like, well, we just have to raise taxes. We'll just have to add fees so that we can continue with all these great programs and promises that we made. It's like, well, how about we don't spend that kind of money when we know we don't have it?
I just comment some stuff like that. I get it. I've got to go to break. And again, I am not poo-pooing anything. My secret sauce to you guys who want to send it to the speaker, I thoroughly believe, and what is his name? Senator Fateh. He went to the mat for his Uber guys, right? He felt that was important last year, so he went to the mat for them. He's on that side with the insurance. I thoroughly do. He's a man of his word. This is not me ripping him. Whether you'll want the deal he wants or not, that's not my point. He is that guy. If he thinks that's what his constituents want, he will go to the end of that plank. I think he holds out. I don't think he's bluffing.
Because the private insurance sector for automobile and homeowners and health and life insurance is in the committee that I co-chair.
Yep.
I want to say on your show, I went to the mat for the people.
Good.
I told the governor's office, no, you can't if there's an executive order that messes with the formulas and stuff. You cannot just take away the reinsurance piece of the private market and just let that fall to pieces. And I stood in front of them and I said, you guys call me back when you're done with that silly talk. And yesterday they said, we're done with the silly talk. So I stood in front of it, right? Took bullets for people. Happy to do it.
Good for you. That's the sort of stuff we've got to hear. I just want to talk a little bit about the governor and where we're at, what's holding us up. We'll do a kind of a roundup here on the other side of the break. I appreciate you being here, sir. He is Representative Tim O'Driscoll.
All the special interests are represented in St. Paul. But who speaks for you? Center of the American Experiment does. Our policy fellows dig into the tough issues that matter to you and offer common sense solutions on education, taxes, crime, and energy. American Experiment is the trusted, nonpartisan voice of Minnesotans like you. We are working every day to make Minnesota a better, safer, more prosperous place. We are American Experiment. Go to americanexperiment.org to learn more.
Do you have a closet full of old videos, photos, slides, or films? Regain that space and preserve those memories for future generations. Visit archivinglifemedia.com or call 952-829-8018. See how safe and simple it is to digitize all your media. Gain peace of mind knowing that all those important memories will be saved and can be seen and shared again. Do it today. Check out archivinglifemedia.com or give them a call, 952-829-8018.
Are you kidding me?
You know that comment you said to the radio? The thing that we got wrong?
Clearly, Brussels sprouts are the worst vegetable.
Call us and let the world know your thoughts. 855-257-7469. That's 855-ALS-SHOW.
I'd like to have Representative Tim O'Driscoll on the program with us. Representative, we missed the close, the Monday, getting done midnight at Monday. They came out and said, well, we're going to get this thing done by Wednesday. That didn't happen. They wanted to get it done by Friday because they didn't want to wait for Memorial Weekend and do it. That didn't happen. Wednesday was a drop dead thing. We're going to get this done by Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Did not happen. The governor came out, I think it was yesterday, and said he's pretty darn sure that this is going to get done before the 30th of June, which, of course, would mean a shutdown of government. If it doesn't happen today, I believe that people are getting their pink slips saying, hey, at 30 days from now, you could lose your job. Where exactly do you feel we are in all this? The governor's talking the end of the month, next month already. Pretty sure we'll get it done by then.
Yeah, I would agree that there's not going to be a government shutdown.
Okay.
There are, of all the budget bills that are out there, I think 4 or 5 of them have already been signed by the governor that came through regular session.
Okay.
So those areas like agriculture and housing and public safety, those bills are already signed. They're into law. Their funding is there, so they'll be unaffected by this.
Okay.
Since the end of session on Monday the 19th, we have probably wrapped up another half a dozen, 8 bills maybe.
Okay.
I have to go back and check. I'm getting a briefing later today on exactly where we're at and the progress and everything. But at least it's a handful of other bills left to wrap up. One of them is a big one. It's the health bill.
Yeah.
And it's the stuff we were talking about in the previous segment with, all the insurance and the public health and all those kinds of things. So we're down to a couple of other smaller items.
Isn't the education still out there? Am I wrong with that? That would be the
education did wrap up in the last 24 hours.
All right. Well, that's news for me.
So that's good. And human services. The three biggest budget drivers: K-12 education, health, and human services. 70% of the state budget. 2/3 of those are already done.
Okay. Well, so you're feeling what with this last one? I don't want to rip the governor. Governor's not in the state. The governor's heading to South Carolina and California to talk to the convention stuff. He's not even in town. I presume he has his people there, and they're going to be sitting there arguing for him. So, I mean, I'm not saying anything about him not being there, except are all the powers that be still hanging in there? Are they going to work through the weekend? Or it's like, hey, it's Friday, let's go to Monday. Doesn't really matter.
No, that's part of my briefing later this morning. And then again, the show is on Friday. People may be hearing it at different times and what have you, and say, "Oh, I already heard of the news. This is what the situation was." So I'm just kind of putting it into a time perspective for folks. So later this morning, I will get a briefing, and we'll get a chance to see where we're at. And I suspect that people will continue to work through the weekends. Progress is getting made, but it's just amazing how my DFL counterparts are like, we can't cut $1 on anything. The world will come undone. It's like, really?
Yeah, they've had these benefits since January, and we must hang our hat that they can't survive without it. I told this to my wife, if it's me, go back, what was it, 2019, 2018, whatever that budget was, life wasn't terrible. We were surviving, people weren't dying in the streets before COVID hit, and go back to that budget. This is what we're going back to. And I think we'd be balanced pretty darn quick, but that's just me. Let me ask you this, sir. This working groups idea, since we got out on the 19th and didn't get things done, you go from having committees where people can sit and hear what's going on to now we're in this work groups situation where the public aren't even necessarily allowed to be in the room. And the problem I have with it is people have to compromise. You're to a point now, compromise is going to happen. I'd like to know who got what to compromise. I'd like to be in the room and hear that.
So I'm going to give people a little bit of, how a bill becomes a law from what you were talking about here. All right. Committees themselves have been done for about 6 weeks. What we've gone to is passing bills, the time we got back from Easter, both House and the Senate did. So we were in conference committee. Okay. And oftentimes with conference committee, the House and the Senate folks get together and I say it's like bride's side meets the groom's side of the family. Hey, what do you think and what's going on? How's this looking? This kind of thing. And you kind of run through what are same and similar, where are we at as you start sizing up what you're going to, be negotiating and where you're going to land. Time ran out for a number of committees at that point, and since we're no longer in session, you can't say you have a conference committee because conference committees died as the bills died, as everything died when the stroke of midnight on the 19th of May. So what they did is they said, everybody who was on a conference committee, you're now a working group to continue the work that you had. So we literally picked up right where we left off and continue to negotiate from there. So no lost time on that to get. Well,
not lost time, but they're not necessarily have to have. If it's a working group, then you don't need to allow the press to sit there or some guy who's interested in whatever bill to sit and listen to how this all shook out. Right? That's what I'm getting at.
So a number of those groups were public. And people were able to see those and view those, online or on cable TV and those kinds of things. Yesterday with the Commerce Bill, we had a public meeting and talked about what we did and went through in great detail. And there was probably, 60 people there, 65 people who, when we were done, came up and said, "This is a great bill. You guys did a great job." And again, I just want to let people know that we did preserve the individual market here in the state of Minnesota with the reinsurance program and insulated it from what happens with Medicare and Medicaid. So that is huge. That is just absolutely huge. And the thing is, you won't know that it was going to affect you because we did our job and preserved it.
Yeah, you'd know when things fall apart. So congratulations for doing that, sir. One last thing, as you say, most of these committee things now have been passed and signed. We got the health one to do. Doesn't that box them in a little bit? Because if you're going to do the math, here's the budget we're going for, all the others are done. That puts kind of a box on them that this is all you got. There's nothing else to spend. Otherwise, it messes up everyone else's numbers, correct?
That is correct. And when the governor came on and said, we have an agreement, the leaders all agreed, that was very high-level spending and what we're going to do and some of the priorities. And then the working groups had to figure out how to kind of implement all of that and make sure you didn't go over budget and make sure you fund the priorities as the experts who come from those committees and get put on those conference committees and those working groups.
Fair enough, my friend. We are out of time. I thank you for all the work you've done, sir. I guess you've got one more big day to come back and vote for all the big shiny bills, but I appreciate you doing what you do. Appreciate you being on the show.
You have a good weekend.
Representative Tim O'Driscoll on the Al Travis Show.
If it's your turn to host a game, Grandpa's Barbecue